Hey everybody, Tom Carnell here. Carnell Knowledge, a show I do here twice on YouTube. And I do daily posts reviewing and recommending books and movies and records and all sorts of other stuff. Today I've got a bunch of stuff and I think you're really going to dig it. If you don't know who I am, I was a buyer for Tower Records, a record factory and warehouse for about 15, 20 years. I published Carpet Nocturne magazine back in the day in the 90s. And then for about 15 years I wrote for Fangoria and Dread Central. I'm also an author. I've got a book coming out on June 15th called Open Late. It's a short story collection / portmanteau book. I always do that. A collection of stories that is sort of framed by another story of a night at a diner. Okay, so that taken care of. Let's get to this, all the stuff I've collected for you, and there is some great stuff in here. We're going to start with movies first. First movie is from 1969. It's called NIHON BORYOKU-DAN, KUMICHO, aka Japanese Organized Crime Boss. It's directed by the great Kinji Fukasaku, who did Battle Royale, and then he did the series of films loosely called Battle Without Honor or Humanity. It stars Koji Tsuruta, who is in Samurai 1 or Samurai 2 and 3. It stars the great Tamasaburo Wakayama, who was in Lone Wolf and Cub, and it also stars Bunta Sugawara, who did a voice for Spirited Away. Has to do with a Yakuza member who is released from jail, and all he wants is a peaceful life. But on the day he goes back to pay his respects to his past gang, a bomb goes off and it kills the leader, and the leader appoints him new leader as he dies. From there is a territorial war between Osaka and Tokyo factions of the Yakuza, and our hero struggles to uphold the Yakuza code against dishonorable adversaries. It is the first of 4 films in a series, supposedly based on real events, despite what it says in the beginning of the film. And the movie begins and wastes little time bringing the audience up to speed and getting to the action. The lead, Sarada, is suitably stoic, but it's Tamasaburo Wakayama, as always, who steals the show. No one directs a Yakuza film like Kinji Fukasaku. I highly recommend, if you see his name in the directorial slot on IMDb, watch it. It's going to be well worth your time. This film crackles with energy, very much in what is referred to as the noble Yakuza category. The idea of, like, he may be a gangster and he may be a thief and all these other things, but he has his own code that he sticks to rather vehemently. One of the better and more engaging of the Yakuza films I've seen, and I've seen quite a few at this point. Taut and exciting, well acted and directed. This is great stuff. If you're unfamiliar with the Yakuza films, they're kind of like samurai films, except they're set in the present day, usually in the late 50s, early 60s. Everyone kind of, Tarantino kind of ripped off that look, that black suited look with sunglasses and stuff in Kill Bill. But this one is a fantastic one. Moving on to 1953, Kiji Mizoguchi's Ugetsu Monogatari. Mizoguchi did Sancho the Bailiff, which is another, there's 2 of them and they're fantastic. It stars Masayuki Mori, who is in Rashomon. Kurosawa's The Bad Sleep Well. Let's see. Kinuyu Tanaka, who is in The Love of the Sumiko Actress, and Mitsuko Mito, who is in the 3 samurai films detailing the life of Miyamoto Musashi. This is a tale of ambition, family, love, and war set in the midst of the Japanese civil wars of the 16th century. Based on the story The House in the Thicket and The Lust of the White Serpent by Ueda Akinari. Also borrows heavily from Guy de Maupassant's How He Got the Legion of Honor. This is one of Martin Scorsese's favorite films, also a favorite film of Andrei Tarkovsky. Has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Considered a masterpiece of not only Japanese cinema, but cinema in general. Along with Kurosawa's Rashomon, it is often credited with popularizing Japanese cinema in the West. Filmed in beautiful black and white. Story deals again with war, love, greed, ambition, and the line between reality and the spiritual world. Brings a sense of beauty to a rather horrific landscape. It is kind of a ghost story in a way, but all in all, it's a fantastic and subtle film that will awaken or reawaken your love, not only for Japanese cinema again, but motion pictures in general. I had somewhat missed this film for a long time, and then I finally sat down to watch it. It's available, I believe it's available on Tubi. But man, it was so good. It's so good, and I can totally see why Scorsese and Tarkovsky love this film. Highly, highly, highly recommended. It usually goes by just the name Ugetsu, but yeah, great, good stuff. Keeping in that sort of Kwaidan vein, we're moving on to 1968, a film called Kaidan Yukijoro, aka The Snow Woman, directed by Takuzu Tanaka, who did a film I've already covered on here, The Haunted Castle. He also did a grip of Zatoichi, Sleepy Eyes of Death, and Shino no Mono films, written by Lafcadio Hearn. And the script was done by Fuji Yahiro, who did Sancho the Bailiff. We just talked about that. Stars Shihu Fujimura, who is in Zatoichi's Lost Cane, Akira Ishikawa, who is in the great Kobayashi film Harakiri, and Machiko Hasegawa, who was in Zatoichi and the Chest of Gold. It is a 1968 fantasy horror film that was produced by Dai Films. It's kind of an expanded adaptation of the Yuki Ono short story that appeared in Lafcadio Hearn's book, Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things. It's essentially the same story that was told in Kobayashi's Kwaidan from 1965. Like Kwaidan, this is pretty much kind of shot on a soundstage. So good. The things get started in short order. The design of the titular snow woman is pretty amazing. It's spooky and yet retains their sort of beauty to it. In the beginning, there is really no reason given for the ghost and why she is exacting this revenge. Essentially, a woodcutter and his apprentice go out in search of the perfect tree to cut down to make a statue, and a snowstorm sets in. The snow woman appears, kills the mentor, and because he's so beautiful, the apprentice, she says, like, I will let you live, but if you ever tell anyone about me, you're gonna die. And therein lies the tale. Let's see. The stuff that's inserted in this, from the Kobayashi film to this film, it's a lot of B plot and a lot of C plot. I don't know that everything that needs to be told is told in the Kobayashi film, but this is a masterfully done movie, and I do recommend it, which I normally don't like to do. If there's a shorter version of something, it's usually more taut and more like ticking like a watch. But what's here is very, very enjoyable. Does suffer from a small budget, and the story, but the story and the performances sort of carry the weight of all that. Again, I do prefer the shorter version, but boy, is this a great film. Beautiful, 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 beautiful stuff. I very, very, very much enjoyed it. Let's see, moving on to 1967. La Ikanu de Shandigor, aka The Unknown Man of Shandigor, directed by Jean-Louis Roy, who was a Swiss filmmaker. Stars Daniel Emelfor, who was the memorable face, I believe, of the doctor in City of Lost Children. Serge Gainsbourg, the composer and musician, makes an appearance in this. Marie-France Boyer and Ben Carruthers from The Dirty Dozen. Has to do with a scientist who will do whatever it takes to keep the wrong people from finding about this new machine that he has built that negates nuclear weapons. It's a spy spoof, sort of. Very eccentric, almost cartoony. again, shot in glorious black and white. I have a predilection for black and white films anyway. But anyway, yeah, this is beautiful stuff. It does seem cloaked in the fears of the day, of the fashion of the mid-60s. Is a little slow beginning, but settle in, it picks up rather quickly. Unlike most spy film, this doesn't have a maniac threatening to blow up the world. It's actually the opposite of that. The scientist has developed a canceller that will make nuclear war a moot point. The intrigue comes from how far the bad guys will go to get their hands on his formula. It's loaded with odd characters who are all cast, and their performances are all pitch perfect. The jokes are subtle, but still quite funny and informed. Think of it, as I watched it, I kept thinking, like, this is like a spy-ish Dr. Strangelove, if that makes any sense. The film vanished after its premiere in 1967 and then resurfaced again years later and is now available for free on Tubi. Witty and sarcastic and surprisingly enjoyable. I'd never heard of this and went in completely cold, which was perfect. I found the film to be very fun, insightful, and one of the better spies parodies that I've seen. Highly recommended. It's fun. It's not... There's not a lot of, gun plays and guys running around and like James Bondy and stuff. It's more subtle than that, more goofy, kind of cartoony, but very, very enjoyable. And let's see, our last film, 1960, has several names. You can find it under a bunch of different names. La Maschera del Demonio is the original. It's also known as Black Sunday, also known as The Mask of Satan, The Demon's Mask, House of Fright, Revenge of the Vampire, and The Hour Dracula Comes. Directed by the great god, Mario Bava, who did Bay of Blood and Blood of Black Lace. Barbara Steele is in it, who is in 8½, Shivers, and Piranha. She's beautiful. It's in her prime, and she's great in this. John Richardson is in it, who was in 1 Million Years of BC, and he was also in On a Clear Day You Can See Forever. Andrea Cecchi is in this. Ivo Garani, who is in The Wolfman. But yeah, it has to do with a woman who is killed because they think she's a witch. The titular Mask of Satan gets pounded onto her face. And then years later, she is resurrected to begin a bloody campaign against the people that killed her. It's the directorial debut of Mario Bava. It's reportedly based on a Nikolai Gogol story called V.I.Y., which was also made into a really impressive film in 1967. As I was going through some of the trivia on IMDb, I found that the sets were designed monochrome to add a spooky mood. So there was very little color involved on set. Even though they were shooting black and white, he decided to color everything in a sort of black and white palette. Several scenes from this were recreated in Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Tim Burton kind of riffed on it in Sleepy Hollow. It's Tim Burton's favorite film, reportedly. And I consider this to be an essential Gothic horror film, a revenge from beyond the grave flick. Mood-wise, it reminded me a lot of Val Lewton's The Leopard Man from 1943. And the reason to see this, besides the director's deft touch, is Barbara Steele, who is just stunning in this. It's a fine entry point, I think, into Bava's filmography. And just fantastic. Dark and moody and atmospheric. I consider this a must-see if you want to be film and horror literate. Again, Black Sunday is highly, highly recommended. And that's film. Moving on to books. Let me open this so I can show you the cover. In the midst of my wife brought home 4 big boxes of books from someone who was clearing out their mother's house. And a lot of the books that were in there were from the 30s and the 40s and had that great smell that old books have. If that doesn't sound too weird. Just fantastic. So anyway, so here's the book. it's direct. The artist or the author's name is Margaret Oliphant, but everywhere I looked, I kept seeing it listed just as Mrs. Oliphant, and it's called A Beleaguered City. And the book is from 1880. And it is narrated by multiple characters to give, there's an event and you get, it's kind of like Rashomon where there's an event and you get all these different sides of things to get a rather clearer view of what happens. One of them is a skeptical mayor, and the novel explores themes of faith and materialism and the conflict between science and the supernatural. As the townspeople grapple with this event. Essentially what happens is they're kind of not worldly, but like petty and materialistic, and you're only as good as the money that you have. Sounds familiar. But anyway, the dead come back and drive them out of their city, and therein lies the tale. Classic Victorian supernatural fiction blending psychological realism with the uncanny. It's from a larger book that Oliphant did called Stories of the Seen and Unseen. The writing style is a little stilted, a little dated, but I still found it engaging. And despite all of that description, it's not a zombie story per se. It's just the dead return. And I kind of found that nebulous, whether it was like the physical incarnation of the dead or if it was just ghosts. But it delves into a lot of existential questions like the nature of faith, the consequences of materialism, and the boundary between the physical and spiritual world. Is it worth reading? Yes, absolutely. First, for the novelty of a story in its time frame, and the fact that it has to do with this whole dead thing coming back is very interesting, and especially because it's written by a woman in the late 1800s. So out of the box, I think that makes it different. It shouldn't make it different, but it does. I think her perspective is different than had the same story been written by a man. Her touch is more deft, and she's more able to be evocative, whereas I think a man might have been more prone to sticking with the action and sticking with what happened as opposed to how it affected the people. I was shocked to find myself liking this as much as I did. It's not that hard to find. You can find it out there on Kindle for a song. You can find it. I want to say the Gutenberg Project has copies of this, so you can go online and read it. It is a little long, but yeah, good stuff. I did just read another thing by her that had to do with a window. What was it called? Like something like the library window, wherein a young girl is spends her time reading in a little nook in a library window, and she looks across and she sees this man in a window. And later, spoiler, later it's divulged that it's not a window that she's looking into, but that it's a painting on the side of the wall to give the effect of a window. And it was good. It was very, very much enjoyable. So let's see. Moving on to records. A lot of good stuff this time out. First record is from 2026. The artist Fabiano de Nascimento and the Vittor de Santos Orquestra. So Nascimento is a Brazilian-American guitarist, composer, and producer. He's also an arranger. This music has been called retro-futuristic Brazilian music. Borrows from the traditions of samba and something called choro, which I wasn't too sure about, but when I was reading the press release, it mentioned that specifically. And it also echoes the elements of modern jazz, experimental music, and electronic music. Recorded in Rio de Janeiro. There are stunning orchestral arrangements in this that sort of serve as a platform from which Nascimento's guitar can come in. Culturally diverse, uplifting, and beautifully, beautifully rendered. Reminded me of things like Aerto Moriare, Ralph Towner, Sam Grendel, Radames Gnalti, and Egberto Gesminto, whose name I just love to say. Again, Fabiano di Nascimento. The album is called VILA, V-I-L-A. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's what it's called. And it's really good. It's good dinner music. It's good relaxing music. It's good to just sort of hang out with. Yeah, very, very cool. Moving on, another 2026 record, Tinariwen, who are getting a lot of press these days. The album is called Hoggar. Tinariwen, if you aren't familiar, are a collective of Tuareg musicians from the Sahara region of southern Algeria and northern Mali in the region of Aswad. They are considered pioneers of what is known as desert blues. Their guitar-driven style combines traditional Tuareg and African music with Western rock. I guess someone has called it Assouf, A-S-S-O-U-F. The group has been nominated for 3 Grammys and won Best World Music Album of 2012 with their album Tassili. A formative influence on, there's a growing Tuareg music scene. Who knew? But it's there. And simple in their construction, the songs like go down really easy and will have you bobbing your head pretty quickly with their good, albeit elemental beat. Very, very enjoyable, very exotic sounding. Undoubtedly very different from what you're probably used to hearing, but that's okay. I believe in you, and you should reach out and expand your boundaries. Give these guys a chance. They're great. They are so good. Think of it helps, I find, that if you think of the vocals as just another instrument. I mean, clearly they're not speaking English. But it's just great stuff. Reminded me of things like Bombino, Modu Mokhtar, Tamacrest, Terracraft, Emarhan. Reminded me of Glass Beams, Karangbin, Yin and Balthus. Great stuff. Beautiful. Very, very, again, exotic is a good word. And just fantastic. Another 2026 another 2026 record. I'd never heard of these guys. Art School Girlfriend. The album is called Lean In. The band is Molly Louise Mackey. She's a Welsh musician and singer and songwriter. It's different. It's a seamless blend of moody dream pop, ambient techno, and minimalist electronica. Her vocals are in sort of a hushed, breathy tone, very contemplative. The music comes off sounding very deeply personal and introspective. Minimal drums with the drum machine and electronics. Romantic, melancholic, and a little ominous. But very, very appealing. Goes down super easy. Really enjoyed this one. I took a chance on it. It came up on my Spotify list and took a chance on it. And boy, was I glad I did. It reminded me of things like Likey Lee, Beach House, reminded me of Portishead, Tricky, Chromatics, remind me of Boards of Canada, who have a new record out just today. The Radio Department, Cocteau Twins, and FKA Twigs. Good stuff. Really, really good stuff. All right, moving on. This one is from 2025, so I broke my streak there. The artists, there are 3 of them. The band is called Didon, D-I-D-O-N, and some of the members are like Carmen, Rizzo, and Meriem Ben Amor. The album is called Bab El Medina. Again, from 2025. They're a unique blend of Arabic and North African influences with modern electronics and synth elements. Ethereal Arab vocals and cinematic electronic production. Think world and music and ambient elements all coming together with Arab music. And it is exotic and beautiful. A beautiful record, unlike much of what the average listener has heard, but trust me, I think you'll really like this. Reminded me of things like Lorena McKinnon, Love Spirals Downwards. It really reminded me of Dead Can Dance. Throw in a little Muslim Gauze, Hyas, and Nastasha Atlas. Great record. The cover is very ethereal, very it's a group of people walking shrouded in like sheets or what have you. But man, this is so good. One of those things what prompted me to add a bunch of this group and Carmen Rizzo's and Meriem Amor's solo stuff. I added it to my inbox so that I'll be looking at that pretty quickly. And just beautiful, wonderful stuff. Really good for late night. You know what I mean? When you're settling in just before bed. Great stuff. And then our last record is from, it was released in 2012. The band is called The Spy from Cairo. The record is called ARABADUB. It is the work of producer Marino Vicini. He also goes by the name Seb. It blends exotic dub lines, reggae beats, and electronic dance rhythms, heavy and hypnotic bass drops, tape delays, and this sort of cavernous reverb. Upbeat, psychedelic Arabian dub, as if traditional Mediterranean musicians met a 70s dub pioneer in a hookah bar. I think that pretty much describes it right there. Let's see. Integrates authentic Arab and Mediterranean scales with traditional instrumentation. The production is very lush. The music is mid-tempo and trippy. At first it sounds kind of traditional, and then the dub beat comes in and changes everything. Reminded me of a lot of stuff. Bombay Dub Orchestra, Dub Colossus. It reminded me of Thievery Corporation, if you're familiar with those guys, and you should be. Alpha X and K&D, also known as Kruder and Dorfmeister. Fantastic stuff. Highly, highly recommended. All of this stuff comes highly recommended. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up. But yeah, good stuff. I recommend every single one of these records. And if you check the description of this video, you will find YouTube playlists that you can click on and go hear them for yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't just trust my word for it. Let me point the way and then go decide for yourself. Yeah, but they're all just fantastic. I think that's going to do it. I do want to mention thank you to everyone for clicking on the shorts and for continuing to support this channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. That super helps me out. Tell a friend and do all that thing. Smash the like button and all that other nonsense. And then the other thing I want to mention is on June 15th, I have a new book out called Open Late. It's a portmanteau short story collection. There's like a story, and then within it, stories are told. The whole book was meant as an ode to the art of storytelling. And I'm very excited about it. I'm very proud of the stories that are in it. They're very different. Kind of pulled, there's a Western in there at one point. There's a story pulled from Indonesia. Yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. Please, it's $4.99 on Amazon. So that's for the Kindle. And then when the book, the print book, I think is going to be $12.99. So I paid more for a haircut. So check that out if you would. I would much appreciate it. And that'll do it for today. I will be back in a couple of days with a whole batch of other stuff. I'm cooking some good stuff up over here. So again, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.